Hi everybody, how you doing? Ryan and Abbie here for your Community Conversations podcast, and we've just discovered that we are now hitting episode 16, which is incredible, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity to come in and just talk about all these things that are near and dear to our hearts very much, right? We both had a little chit chat before as to some words that have come up for us this month around community. Um, Mine was cultivate or cultivation. And Ryan, please share yours.
Experience.
Experience. And we're just going to have a little look into how those things relate to community and how they, in fact, relate to one another. So mine came about really from some experiences that I had in London this weekend. I was very fortunate to go along to a couple of events, concerts.
You don't
So
like music, do you?
I love it. I love it. And they were very special experiences anyway, because one was with my son, and then one was with it was the first concert I've been to with just my son, which was really, really cool.
Yeah.
And then one with my mum, which we haven't done for a long time, and I kind of grew up doing that with my mum, so both very, very special. But it was something that they both said as individuals, and they obviously come to the world as an individual in terms of their creativity and so on, and both sort of saying, oh, thank you for being with me from the start, going on this journey with me, so on and so forth. And literally my brain went to thinking, well, how have they done that?
Who
I
are
mean,
they?
don't get me wrong, I understand that these people have teams and people behind them and so
Yeah,
on
yeah.
and everything like that. I get how the industry works, but what is it about this individual that in just these two incidences have brought together thousands of people from around the country, some from around the world, to this one space for this one person, purpose, event?
Mm.
And I know that we talk about how generally the people and the spaces that we come into contact with, we share values and visions and heart-centered, heart-led. But I was curious that surely within that amount of people,
Mm.
I doubted that that was the case. I might be wrong,
So who
but
did you
so
see?
how? Say again.
Who did you see?
I saw Tom Grennan
Mm-hmm.
and I saw Justin Timberlake.
Mm.
So different ends of the spectrum as well in terms of where they are in their journey and things like
Mm-hmm.
that as well, and status and so on and so forth. But my question was,
Mm.
how do these individuals cultivate these communities that spread so internationally and bring such a vast amount of people together like that to share in that? And I guess that's probably where your word of experience can come in. Uh,
Yeah. Uh, and I think Matthew McConaughey says something really interesting for all creators to really think about, which is that the individual, the personal, the more personal we get, the more universal it is.
mm,
And I think songwriters are especially great at making the personal universal.
mm,
Think about Adele and
mm,
some of her power anthems, right? And Taylor Swift at the moment.
yeah.
She doesn't write for everyone. They write her own story. She tells
Mm.
stories. And the more
She's
personal it becomes, the more universal it becomes.
Yeah, and I think she stands out. I thought about this earlier actually because my daughter has experienced a Taylor Swift concert
Hmm.
this year, and I think she's got different subcultures going on
Yeah.
within her overall community,
Yeah.
because you see like pockets of fan, they exchange all their wristbands, they sign each other's like
Yeah, 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 yeah.
merch and all this kind of stuff. They get group sing-alongs going, and there's all these different little
Well, it's interesting you said the word culture there, because I think culture and cultivate, those two words are connected.
Yeah, I had a little look at the definitions.
Mm,
So, and I broke it right down even to the word cult. So a cult can be a person or thing that is popular or fashionable among a particular group or section of society, or it's a devotion towards a particular figure or object. And then culture was the manifestations of human intellectual achievement regarded collectively. And the words that Justin Timberlake used was, I dreamed of this since I was a boy. So
mm,
really, to me, that then says that he's been manifesting that
mm,
moment
mm,
all that time. And there we are collectively sort of celebrating that within this word of culture. He has created this culture of, or community of people
mm.
to celebrate his manifestations.
Powerful, isn't it? When I just said about the personal becomes universal, you
Mm,
forget the amount of people that were in that room. Focus on your own personal enjoyment and experience of his music.
mm.
So who did you go with? Did you go with your mum?
Well, it was my
Like,
mum to Justin
so
Timberlake.
again,
Yeah.
if you think about his songs, if you think about what have they meant to you in your life,
Mm,
obviously they have a new different meaning because you've had a shared
mm,
experience with your mum in time and space.
mhm.
But
Yeah.
there is something about those songs that have spoken into your life at various different reasons, at various different moments,
Mm,
that have meant it's even possible to get your attention to be in that room. So if we're
mm,
looking at some of the definitions, the word cultivate, a lot of it talks about crops, definition wise, and
mm.
and and the specific act of like caring or tending to.
Yeah.
And I think to cultivate an experience like you've had means to care or to tend to an individual, a group of people, a process, a body of work, whatever it is, for a long period of time. And I guess there's been something cultivated in you, tended to in you as your heart, your
Mm,
spirit, through that music, through the sharing of that music into the moments of your life.
yeah.
I don't know whether there's anything that kind of sticks out when it comes to his
Well,
music or Tom
yeah, I
Glenn.
mean, I think he very much said as well, like a few people had like different banners up and stuff like
Yeah.
that throughout the gig, and he sort of referred to a few of them. And so, and there was one that obviously referred to kind of like age, I guess, and we're the same age, Justin Timberlake and I.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so literally it is like, I think he then said something like about a growing up together. And I guess there's that, I guess, in common as well, that there's probably milestones hit and different things at similar times, maybe. But absolutely, I think you're right. I mean, music does this a lot for me personally, anyway, as I'm sure it does many people. But there are, you usually think of a moment in time, good, bad, indifferent. There's usually a song or something that you can relate to that moment in time, right?
Yeah.
um so very much like, and yeah, saying this now, obviously I took little snippets of videos and stuff throughout the concert, and when he sung Can't Stop the Feeling, there's a song from Trolls,
Yeah.
um I sent that straight to like the Evolution choir gang, because that was one of the big songs that we sung at the time when I was part
Yeah.
of the choir. So that instantly then drew up all of those memories and connections and everything as well. So yeah, absolutely. They say there's a song for every moment, don't they?
Yeah. Soundtrack of your
Um,
life.
yeah. He
Mm.
he would feature quite a bit, I would say.
And that's it, that if you're nearly the same age as Justin, that means so am I. And I would not resonate with the term of we've grown up together.
Mm,
And so there's something there around resonance. There's something there around whether we make this woo-woo and frequencies or just whether we resonate with that person, that person's music. And then I think what you've been given the experience of is to understand how many other people that resonates with too,
yeah.
because he's put out such a frequent body of that frequency. He has been very consistent for 2 decades. He's been able to speak into so many people's lives. He is able to tend to many crops. Those
Develop, yeah,
earbuds, shall we say?
yeah.
He's tended to many crops, and therefore that manifestation was the harvest of that crop.
Mm.
The culture you're talking about around that Taylor Swift thing, the culture you're talking about, and the Justin thing, those things are the harvesting of the crop and the manifestation of what you've cared for, what you've tended to.
Mm.
Everybody has a culture. It's a manifestation of what you care about.
Mm.
And yeah, I guess the great thing, you have been invited to share with like-minded, like-hearted people, to share in that experience of what it means to be journeying with Justin or journeying with Tom from the very beginning.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. And for me, like, because yeah, going back to I'll switch to Tom Grennan for a minute because I've just thought of something that I think is relevant. Like, we were singing, dancing away, whichever, to a song, and my son was stood in front of me, and there's another lady sitting next to me. She was dancing, and I was dancing, and we just kind of like looked to one another, smiled, sort of shimmied together, and what have you. And then my son turned around and looked at me and went, "Why did you do that?" Like this, you know, why did you dance with a stranger kind of thing. And so actually that gave me a moment, actually thinking about it, to say, well, we're all here for the same purpose, you know, to enjoy ourselves, get lost in the music, you know. And again, I'm not sure at this point whether he would understand frequency, but I think that was definitely a prime example of that we were both
But
on
that
that.
moment, you weren't strangers, yeah.
No, we weren't. No, exactly that. We weren't strangers. We were part of this community or this culture that just was there to feel into the music and the
Yeah.
vibe, the frequency, everything that was going on. And you could have probably have done that with most people in that crowd, you know,
Yeah.
that it would
There's
have been.
something about the environment and the culture that then means, and this is what we're both good and bad at with humans, is that we make stereotypes, right? And
Mm,
stereotypes are little brain shortcuts so that I don't have to spend the time to get to know you. I have a little bit of information that says, you're all right, you're a good egg because you're at this concert.
yeah,
You know, the same way that if anybody's wearing the blue heart, you know, when we're at our coffee meetings, is almost that assumption that we're part of the collective. That
yeah.
we're, you know, that we're all right. We're a good
Beacon,
bunch
isn't
of
it?
people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beacon. It is a context setter, you
Mm,
know, and it is a shortcut to. It's like, here's the thing, right? How if you wanted to know what the taste of the entire soup tastes like, you don't have to try all of them or all of it. You just have to have 1 tablespoon, and that is what the soup tastes like. And
mm.
that's the same way if you have one person from our community wearing the blue heart. You haven't got to go and meet all of them and taste all of them
No, yeah,
to know that there is something you like, something that uniting about this,
yeah.
what it means to wear it. Yes, obviously there's nuance to it and we're all very different in our own individual flavors. Maybe it's not the perfect example, but you don't need to go and try all of them. You can get to the we through the individual me, I think,
Mm,
because we are a representation of the bigger community.
mm.
And you
And
feel safe, you
again,
feel at home, you feel connected,
yeah,
whatever that feeling is, plays out
because
in
it
that
was just
moment.
like, it was, you know, you could have conversations with people around you, and it was just like, yeah, that's just the done thing. And again, that was a difficult concept at the moment for him to kind of get his head around, that I was just randomly talking to people that, you know, I've obviously know. Because what happened, I'll tell you what happened. Here you go. Here's this. I think this is a very good example. So it took us a long while to get out of Tom Grennan because we were in the middle of a park in London. So they were very good, and they were ushering us all out safely and quietly and civilly to get to the train station, so on and so forth. But it was rammer jammer packed with people. So obviously you can imagine for a lot of people that can be a very intense
Mm.
situation. And he was handling it brilliantly, which was great. I looked over my shoulder and I could see this lady. She's quite a young girl. She's there with her partner, but she weren't breathing. Her breathing wasn't great. I could see she was getting very anxious. All I said was, I said, let's start tapping your hand.
Mm.
And I didn't say anything else, and she just started doing it. I said, just keep tapping that, and let's take some deep breaths at the same time, because we weren't walking and we weren't going anywhere at the time. And I just got her in sync with me and slowing down her breathing. I said, right, and if you want to, I said, we can tap your face. And I just kind of took her through a round of tapping, and her breathing slowed down, and she was able to just remember where she was and what have you. And I just kept talking to her, you know, about just really random things. But it was important, you know, as an example, I think, that she was being in that space, knowing I was there at that concert at that time, that I was someone that she could lean into in that moment of need and trust, because of this greater culture that was around her. You know,
Yeah.
although she felt uneasy or whichever in the moment, she was still able to trust, you know, like we were just sort of talking about with the beacon of the heart and things like that. So yeah,
That's
I think that's
mad, isn't it?
yeah.
Where did you learn how to tap? Who taught you how to tap?
Esther taught me how to tap, Esther McCann, which
Where did
is
you meet Esther?
through Always Better Than Yesterday.
Mad, isn't it?
The
So there's a
love, the heart and mind. Yeah.
little ripple effect, another little blue heart imprint that you, again, that doesn't happen if you don't be.
You can't tune into it and you're not open to it. I think that's it. Recognize it. And
That's mad. You
yeah.
are batshit crazy, you are. That's amazing.
Of course, just kind of looked at me and was like, at that point, he's like, oh yeah, I kind of know what she's doing. Oh, I'll let her get on with it, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah. It's
So,
mad, isn't it? And do you know what?
yeah.
I don't know whether you felt peaceful or slightly nervous or slightly excited, but there's a bit where your mind goes, no, don't do that. No, don't do that.
Mm,
Don't. They don't want you to do that. They don't want you to say anything. No, don't be silly. Like, don't embarrass. Like, there's a little second voice that, if you pay attention to it, will have stopped that interaction happening.
yeah. As soon as she started tapping her hand, I knew I'd got her, if that, you know, without that sounding like,
With her permission. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. Like she chose to join in. And I
yeah,
was like, okay, right, off we go.
yeah.
We'll
Wow, that's
just
powerful.
see what happens.
That's amazing.
Mm.
Thank you for being that example and for being that presence for that person in a time of need. And may that continue to encourage you and all the people, and may you continue to take hope for the ripple that has now started.
I hope so, yeah. I just tried to, well, I tried to give her as much information as I could in the short space of time that we were connected in that way.
Yeah.
You know, I said, if this is making you feel better, if this is working for you, please go look at this. I
Mm,
said, and I was just trying to give it. I said, look, even if you're walking along, as we walk along, just tap your fingers and
mm.
count it. No one has to see you doing it. You know, there's so many different ways that you can help to regulate yourself. So yeah, like it's very unlikely we'll ever bump into one another ever again, but you never know. But equally, like you've just said, hopefully now she's got that tool for life now and can go and share it with someone else, and so it goes.
Guess who else has had the experience of using that tool?
Sorry.
I guess who now has had the experience of using that tool?
Yeah.
You.
Yeah.
You now have the knowing of what it takes to use a tool to help people, which sounds
Mhm.
like there's a coach emerging in you
Oh,
and through you.
you would think.
Yeah.
You would think. Yeah. It felt like the most, oh, I know we're going a bit off topic here, but it felt like the most natural thing to do in that moment. You know, it's like, oh, like generally, oh, we need to help here. How can we do that in this situation? You very quickly like look and assess at where you are and what you've got. It's like, right, what tools can I pull out? And these are the ones that you can just
Well, that's the powerful thing. The more we grow ourselves, the more capable we become of helping people right where they're at, right? You know, and if you can't give what you've not got, you can't take people to where you've not been. And you know, the more we grow ourselves, the more we take ourselves through these things, you know, get through the other side, then we become the angels that get placed in 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 the
Yes.
presence of those who just need
Yeah.
whatever it is that we've been through ourselves.
Mm.
And that's not mean to say that we take responsibility for everybody else's, but it means we're open to the possibility.
It's being a guide, isn't it? I like using that word, being a guide.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm here to necessarily teach or anything like that, but it's be a guide, be like we're saying, being of service, being someone that can offer something else, something different.
Yeah.
You can, choose to take or not take on. But
A great guide will always lead someone closer to home within themselves. A great guide isn't going to say, hey, come and follow me and come get closer to me and come build my world. A great guide will walk alongside and bring that person closer to themselves, their heart, their mind, their destiny, whatever it is that that person is on the journey for. A guide will, yeah, that's wonderful. What do you think? If we start to wrap this up, how do we package this conversation in something for the listener to reflect on? What is it that they might be cultivating or wanting to cultivate?
Yeah, I think from the things that we've just been talking about, I think a trust in who you are, what your beliefs are, what you bring to the world, I think is really important. I think in these examples, like, yeah, there would have been a time where that little second monkey voice would have taken over and I wouldn't have done anything about it. And I think we got a bit further down the road and someone did something stupid, which I could then see got the girl anxious again. And I actually spoke up and said, do you mind not doing that? Because there are some really anxious people in the crowd. And again, that was something that I probably never would have done before, but I was trusting in that feeling in my gut that was telling me, no, you still got to support this person. This isn't done yet. So yeah, trusting in yourself and your knowledge, your skills, your talents in whatever it is that you want to bring forward into the world. And I think the more you do it, the more you practice it, the easier it becomes. That's what I'm finding.
Yeah, I just read in a book by John Eldridge, who was on the show in January. It's all about the masculine journey and the different phases, and when a king becomes, when you can actually trust a man with power. It's about having this phase of life where he accepts, like, the fact that serving others and the position of king requires a lot of service and sacrifice. And most people, when they truly understand the responsibility of being a king, that they go, oh, don't really want that. Like they're not like searching for the power of kingship. They're like Mufasa. I think he did a wonderful demonstration of the responsibility of a kingship,
responsibility,
service and sacrifice. And I think that's what you've just demonstrated there, is that there is to serve another meant that you had to sacrifice your safety and comfort of not speaking. And do you know what called you out of that? The devotion to looking after somebody else. And I think that's what great kings and queens will do, is they will put themselves in a position where they've got to do those things, not for their own power, but
yeah. And I think as
love of
well, and I think this
people.
should be probably true of everybody, is that we've always got others watching, and in this case it was my son. So there was my responsibility as well, as showing up as a role model to him and how we behave in these situations and how we help others. So it was important. And I probably didn't think about that in the first instance, but on reflection, that is definitely an important thing. It's like we now need to step up and show our children so that they can, and their children, so that they can keep it going, keep
Well,
being
it's
these
the
like
old adage of don't tell your kid to read.
yeah.
They'll if you if you want your kid to read, if you want your kid to be helpful, then they'll copy your example, not your demands.
Yeah.
So
So they're going to remember those moments. They often both say to me, why do you just, like, wherever we go, you always just talk to everybody,
I know. Well,
and I just
the thing I've realized is that we might get the backlash of the children in front of us, but if you left them either at school or in the presence of other people, they will act that way.
Absolutely,
And
yeah.
it's that that's who they'll become in the
Mm,
absence of when we're around.
mm.
But, when they go to grandparents and when they go to, they come back, oh, they're so lovely, they're so amazing. They come back and it's like that is the bit we have to have
Yeah.
faith on, that when they watch and observe that, then that's what they
That's
will
what we're going to
demonstrate.
take on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, go trust in yourself and trust that what you're going to go and put out into the world is going to be received by the right people. And from that, your cultures, communities, whichever word you wish to use,
Yeah.
will start creating in front of you,
Yeah.
and just to remind yourself, I think within these examples, so it's not necessarily all for you, but it is for everybody, if that makes sense. Yeah, so I think that would be how I'd package it. Just go
Plant
out,
good seeds, tend for them. Yeah,
yeah,
plant the good
tend to
seeds.
them,
Know what you care about. Either
keep
plant
showing up
yourself.
for them, yeah, all those things, and
Yeah.
grow. And I think again, our community is another example of that. Look where we are now. We're into like year 7, isn't it? Of Always Better Than Yesterday.
Bob Goff, one of my favorite authors, he says that people grow where they are loved. And I
Mm,
think that's what a culture is, isn't it? If we're trying to create a culture of love, then naturally people will grow and become better than yesterday.
mm,
We're not trying to create a community where we're like, hey, you need to be better than yesterday. We're trying to create an environment, and we call it the greenhouse, the environment that, that nurtures growth, the environment that creates growth as as a byproduct of
mm,
this loving environment.
mm,
So yeah, that's the main thing for us, really. Hopefully, the demonstration, the things that we try and cultivate, we tend to people, we care, we pour into people, we create the environment for thriving, and hopefully, the better than yesterday culture is one where people are just simply better by being around this group of people, around these types of conversations, these people who think and act and demonstrate who they truly are.
mm.
So thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Abbie,
Yeah,
thank you
thanks
for leading
everybody.
us through this wonderful conversation.
No problem at all. I hope everyone has something to go away with from this, and yeah, if you have any comments, questions, please do reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks, guys.